what I find fascinating is that if everyone is saying, and even anecdotally everyone is saying, for young people, jobs are the issue, employment is the issue, they have to migrate from the state is the issue, why is that not resonating against the incumbent and in favor of the challenger? It's either that people don't trust the challenger to solve that problem, or they feel like, this issue is anyway, this is the curse of the place. I mean, we're going to just live with this.
No, Zaka, when it comes to not just Bihar, but pan-India, trust is a very big factor between the BJP and the non-BJP parties, not just with respect to freebies, also with respect to employment, industry, and the whole business and employment generation part. People trust the BJP to solve a lot of problems, but the same trust is often not showcased to a lot of regional parties, and especially the Congress as well. Now, today, the battle in Bihar is going to be, are enough women voters going to turn up for the NDA, or there are going to be enough young voters swinging the vote towards the Mahagathbandhan away from the NDA. Tejashwi Yadav's best hope is that the youth actually rally behind him, lock, stock and barrel, and that actually might be a shifting point in this entire election. I personally wanted JDU to fight on lesser number of seats than the BJP, perhaps a 90, 110 kind of a combination, because of the whole anti-incumbency against Nitish Kumar, because of this urge within the young voters to go for a change, and that's very natural amongst them. The kind of aspirations they have, Aman just pointed out how most of them are signing up on YouTube, other social media channels to create a revenue stream for themselves. So they are also looking at their own aspirations. They have been having the internet for the last 5-7 years. They're looking how the world is moving around them, how other states, say Uttar Pradesh or even Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh is moving on. And they probably feel that lack of opportunities. And that is where Tejashwi Yadav offers some ray of hope for them. They might not agree with his politics, but this idea that maybe I could be the one who gets a government job and I'll be settled for life. That's the mindset with which they might go to the voting booths. And if they are, what can the NDA really do? Their best hope is the women voters. Tejashwi Yadav's best hope is the youth voters. And they all will bank on their primary voter bank, like the Muslim Yadav for the Mahagathbandhan and the non-Yadav OBCs and the EVCs for the NDA. But at the end of the day, it's within this 10% that the election would really be decided. And that is where I think the trust becomes an important factor. How many women trust that Tejashwi Yadav is not going to be like Lalu Prasad Yadav when it comes to being a chief minister? And how many young voters trust that Nitish Kumar wasn't able to deliver jobs? Maybe Tejashwi Yadav can. It's all about trust and that 10% margin.
One person we haven't talked about at all since the morning broadcast is actually Chirag Paswan. Yes. And he could actually be the critical factor between last election and this. I mean, in the last election, I think virtually every constituency where the JDU had put up a candidate, he put up a candidate.
32 seats they lost.
There's evidence to show that that's why the JDU lost the way in which it did. Even this time, I know that even within the NDA, the fact that he got 29 seats, a lot of smaller parties in the NDA were not exactly happy about it. Do you think his 5-6% vote might actually be the sort of tipping factor?
When we started the broadcast, I made the point that this phase is really about the smaller parties and how they're going to amplify for their lead parties the vote. And that is the transference that everyone is relying on. Will the Congress, and we have to in parentheses say that it is the smaller party in Bihar. It's one of the smaller 5 or 7% vote?
Yeah.
7% vote, I think, for the Congress.
Less than that, 6%.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So basically, it must be able to transfer its vote to the RJD. This time, we'll have to see if parties like the MIM can play that role. Last time, the left played a huge role for the MGB. The VIP on the side of the NDA, this time, of course, things have flipped. Yeah. You have one party that's come in. And therefore, it's these smaller parties, it's the bit players that one really needs to look at, Zach. And I think that maybe if you have some sort of a display there, data display, we can look at really how much these smaller parties actually bring to the table and how effective they are.
Let's look at that on the magic wall. This was, it was a very close election, like I said, 125 to 110. But if you were to break down the NDA, last time around, remember, Chirag Paswan got 5.5%, more than 5.5% of the vote. He was fighting separately, just one seat, but largely he put up candidates in all of those constituencies where the JDU had put up a candidate. He got 5.5%, almost 6% of the vote, but only one seat. But what he did in the process was spoil the chances of the JDU. If you look at the JDU's number, even though they fought I think the JDU last time around fought one seat more than the BJP, if I'm not mistaken. But the BJP ended up with 74 seats and the JDU just 43, even though they contested almost near equal seats. And the reason why that happened was because a lot of the JDU candidates got hurt by Chirag Paswan. Remember, at that time, his uncle, there was this whole fight going on between uncle and nephew. The uncle was with the NDA, but he was not of much help. It was the nephew who contested on his own and put up candidates against JDU candidates, and he managed to reduce the JDU from their sort of 18-19% down to about 15%. So that loss of 2-3% made all the difference last time around, and that's how the JDU went down to just 43 seats. If you were to look at the Mahagathbandhan, and I'm going to just play that out again on the other side, the Mahagathbandhan, at that time, the VIP party was not with the Mahagathbandhan. They were on the other side. They were with the NDA. And despite that, the VIP party ended up with 4 seats with just 1.5% vote share. Just do that comparison. The LJP had 5.5% vote share, 1 seat. The VIP had 1.5% vote share, but 4 seats. Now this party is not on this side of the coalition. They're on the other side of the ledger. Will they translate in such a fashion? Especially, one could make that case that Mukesh Sahni has now been declared as the Deputy Chief Minister. Let me just put some hard
data onto that illustration that you made. So the backward caste as a whole, EBCs and OBCs, are 60% of the population in Bihar. Okay. The Yadavs in the OBC list, 27.2%. The Yadavs are about 14.3%. The Kushwaha, 4.2%. Kurmi, 2.9%. Bania, 2.3%. Surajpuri Muslims, 2%. Now, if the MGB has to retain and do as well as it did in 2020, it has to ensure that it's breaking beyond the Yadavs.
Of course.
Right? And the Muslim vote. Which means that it must get a bit of the Teli vote. If you look at the EBCs, overall EBCs 36%, 112 castes. Telis 2.8%, Malas 2.6%, Kanu 2.2%, Dhanuk 2.1%, and then a large number of Muslim castes 8.3%. So the Muslims, if one were to assume, are voting as a en bloc this time and not being fractured by the MIM. Remember, the MIM itself is playing a very sort of nebulous game here. In Hyderabad, it is giving support to the Congress, to the Congress, the India bloc. Here, of course, it seems to be in sort of antagonist, but who knows? Fundamentally, if the Muslims vote as a bloc and the others vote as a bloc for the MGB, if you were to take that, then all the MGB needs to do is to ensure that the VIPs, the other parties...
Let's talk about this Mukesh Sahni character, because outside of Bihar, he's not really a nationally known figure.
No. Yeah.
Why is he being courted so much by both sides that straight away he was announced as the Deputy Chief Minister?
See, there was a lot of fear that he would actually
jump,
which is why he was really overcompensated in my view. And his voters are are with him, because when I travel to some of those areas, yes, there was a little bit of a thing, take a hand, whatever. But the Saini voters, the Malla voters, many of them felt actually quite aggrieved by the BJP, because their MLAs then joined, after being elected, they joined another party, which is the BJP. So they said these guys, after getting elected, taking our votes, they basically abandoned us. And instead of pushing for our interests within the NDA, they did not. So, is baar aap dekhega, hum karenge. So, there is a lot of hope that Mukesh Sahni will finally come into his own and get and deliver for the alliance that he is with. Coming to Chirag Paswan, yes, he played a spoiler in at least 32 seats for the JDU. JDU backroom actually has done this calculation and said that the margin of defeat in 32 seats has been, less than what the LJP candidate got in those seats. So they were upbeat that, okay, fine, there will be a transfer of votes. They're hoping that there will be a transfer of votes. But historically, if you see, this is the first election actually that the LJP assembly election that they are fighting on the side of the JDU within the NDA. Before that, they hadn't.
They haven't. And Mukesh Sahni is a very interesting
And there is a lot of bad blood between the JDU and the LJP. Of course, first of all, between personality clash between Mr. Paswan and Ramvilas Paswan and Nitish Kumar, but also because Nitish Kumar, by designating Mahadalits, he gave a Mahadalit category to all scheduled castes, barring the Paswan community. That was really taken very, very badly. So there is a lot of bad blood there. God knows if that will come together.
Just to compare statistically again, I mean, it just so happens that the paper is right there in front of me and one can make that comparison. So in 2020, the assembly performance, the BJP had 32 seats. NDA goes up to 41. The BJP goes up to 41. 2024 LS segment, when Paswan comes back, and if you project it onto an assembly map, JDU goes from 23 to 29, and the other NDA goes from 4 to 25. So that is the effect of this vote transference, if it works optimally.
If it works on the ground.
See, it's very clear that, in
what
Bihar...
I had heard was that when this seat adjustment was announced, with 29 seats to the LJP, it seems that Nitish Kumar was furious. Okay. And there was a lot of talk in Patna at that time, because I was there in that city, that he basically called his party's faces right now, and one of whom is a union minister, and said, who signed off on this seat adjustment?
Okay, quickly we have to take a break.
See, Zaka, I think as the graphic showed, never does a one party win seats in Bihar. It's always an alliance. I spoke to Chirag Paswan in an interview a couple of months back, and he told me that many people called me the X factor of the 2020 elections. I won just one seat. Yeah. I did get some vote share because outside an alliance, and that is why I personally feel Prashant Kishore will not be able to make a big impact, because outside the two traditional alliances, if a party is fighting alone, you're not able to perform. VIP did not win 4 seats on its own merit. Yeah. It won because it was with the NDA at that time.
Someone misquotes me, I just want to say that I was talking about phase 1. Those numbers that I talked about were phase 1.
We'll take a break, but our coverage continues. On the other side, we're also expecting the pictures of the meeting that happened yesterday between the Prime Minister and the victorious Indian women's cricket team that's going to be on the other side of the break. We'll continue our coverage on the Battle for Bihar in just a moment. See you on the other side.